Welcome, bienvenidos, benvindu, to the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, part of the SDH network. The only English language show devoted to South America's premier club competition. I'm your host, Howard Hamilton, the founder of Soccermetrics. So the preliminary stage of the 2026 Copa Libertadores is now over, and we have our four clubs who will complete the field for the group stage. All four ties were competitive. The outcome remained in dispute until the final whistle, and in one of the ties, it took penalty kicks to decide the winner. A dramatic conclusion to this year's preliminary stage. In this episode, I'll tell you how the four matches went down. We start out with the classified results. Botafogo 0, Barcelona Sporting Club 1. Barcelona advanced 2-1 on aggregate. Independiente Medellín 2, Juventud de las Piedras 1. Independiente Medellín advanced 3-2 on aggregate. Deportes Tolima 2, O'Higgins 0. Deportes Tolima advanced 2-1 on aggregate. And Sporting Cristal 1, Carabobo 2. Tied 2-2 on aggregate, Sporting Cristal advanced 3-2 on penalties. So there were a total of 9 goals scored, resulting in 2 home wins, 0 draws, and 2 away wins. So now you know the results of these 4 matches, let's take a deeper dive, starting with proceedings in West Central Colombia between Deportes Tolima and O'Higgins of Chile. O'Higgins entered this second leg with a 1-0 lead from their win in Chile. Deportes Tolima started out the match brightly, and they thought that they had an early penalty when Gerson Gonzalez was apparently brought down the box. The referee took a further look at it through VAR, and he determined that Gerson Gonzalez actually dove to earn that penalty. So the penalty was overturned, and Gonzalez received a yellow card for simulation. Tolima would eventually take the lead 7 minutes from the end of the first half, when Junior Hernandez made a fine finish at the end of an 11-pass sequence by the home side. O'Higgins kept pushing for a go-ahead goal on aggregate, and it came close when Hernando Castillo's attempt hit the post from very close range in the 52nd minute. But O'Higgins were pressing very strongly for that go-ahead goal, and it almost cost them midway through the second half. Gerson Gonzalez was at the end of a breakaway deep into the O'Higgins half. He was 1-on-1 against the goalkeeper, but his attempt was saved. Near the end, O'Higgins paid the price for pushing too far forward when they were caught out on another breakaway, this time 2 versus the goalkeeper. Javier Valencia rolled the ball into the path of Juan Torres, who rounded the keeper and poked home to give Tolima the 2-0 lead on the night and 2-1 on aggregate. That's how the match ended. Deportes Tolima advanced to the group stage, and to be frank, the better team won the series over the 2 legs. Now moving on to Peru, where Sporting Cristal was hosting Venezuela's Carabobo. Cristal was looking to advance to the group stage, while Carabobo were seeking to become the first Venezuelan side to advance to the group stage from the preliminary stage. And once again, Carabobo took the lead in an away match of the Copa Libertadores, starting very early in the 4th minute when fine work on the right-hand flank by Josuan Berrios allowed the ball to find its way to an onrushing Edson Castillo, who made a spectacular finish in the top shelf of the goal. Carabobo would double their lead and level the tie on aggregate in the 29th minute. Carabobo were able to turn the ball over deep in the Sporting Cristal half and a series of quick passes found Castillo for a second time, lingering outside the penalty area. He made a fierce strike that flew into the net. Sporting Cristal's goalkeeper never even moved. Cristal would find their way back into the tie in the second half. And 5 minutes after the restart, it would again be played along the right-hand flank, this time by Leandro Sosa, Sporting Cristal, that would eventually result in a cross that found Maximilian Castro rushing on the far post to turn in the right wing cross. 2-1 to Carabobo, but 2-2 on the aggregate. Sporting Cristal had opportunities to win late. There were a series of 3 saves by the Carabobo goalkeeper in a period of 2 minutes. But the match ended 2-1 to Carabobo. It goes down as another away win to the Venezuelan side, but this time the tie would be decided through a penalty kick shootout. And in the first round of the penalty kick shootout, both teams were successful. But in all other rounds of the shootout, there was at least one miss by either side. Sporting Cristal saw 2 of their attempts saved by the Carabobo keeper. Yet, Carabobo made only 1 of the remaining 4 penalty kick attempts. 2 were wide, 1 hit the crossbar, and finally it was left to Cristiano of Sporting Cristal in the 5th round of the shootout to score the clincher, which he nailed clinically and with aplomb. Sporting Cristal escapes, and I really do mean escapes, that 2-2 aggregate draw and a 3-2 penalty kick win. Now moving to the eastern side of South America, where Botafogo was hosting Barcelona Sporting Club at the Olympic Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, otherwise known as the Nilton Santos. Barcelona were seeking to gain an early foothold in the match that would allow them to play more defensively, and they got precisely that. In the 8th minute, at the end of a team effort on the left-hand side, the ball was worked into the penalty area before being redirected out to Milton Celis, and his long-range effort bounced in front of goalkeeper Leo Link and flew into the net. Leo Link went on to receive heavy criticism by the Brazilian press for his play that resulted in that goal conceded by Botafogo. But that goal was precisely what Barcelona was looking for. They parked the bus. They soaked up pressure by Botafogo for well over 80 minutes. Botafogo had a 21-8 advantage on shots. They had an 80-20 advantage in possession, yet only 5 of their shots were on target. In fact, Botafogo failed to register a shot in the final 10 minutes of the match. Contreras, the goalkeeper for Barcelona, made a total of 5 saves. In fact, Barcelona were closer to their second goal than Botafogo were to their first for long stretches of the match. Dario Benedetto came closest for Barcelona in the 65th minute. The only attempts that really tested the Barcelona keeper came from Alex Telles, a long-range shot and a free kick, both of which were saved by the Barcelona keeper. Botafogo's last chance came off an Artur Cabral header off a corner. That too was saved by Contreras. So Barcelona won in Rio de Janeiro 1-0. They advanced to the group stage of Copa Libertadores by a 2-1 aggregate score. It's the second time in 2 seasons that Botafogo has been eliminated from the Copa Libertadores by an Ecuadorian club. Liga de Quito last year, Barcelona in the 3rd round of the preliminary stage this week. Now, in a week that saw a significant number of coaches leave Brazilian club sides. Martin Anselmi, the manager of Botafogo, will be staying with the team for now. The club leadership asked him to remain with the team. They believe that he is the person to guide them through this rocky period. And it has been a rocky period for Botafogo. You might remember that they were under a transfer ban as a result of failure to pay Atlanta United for the Thiago Almada transfer. They had a really slow start to the state tournaments. They had a slow start to the Brasileirão. It's been a really difficult time. And the Copa Sudamericana was not in Botafogo's plans. But for now, Martin Anselmi will be permitted to stay with the Rio de Janeiro Giants. And finally, back to Colombia for the encounter between Independiente Medellin and Juventud of Uruguay. The plucky Uruguayan side from just outside the capital, Montevideo, who have advanced from the first round of the preliminary stage to the cusp of the group stage of Libertadores. It would be a rare achievement for such a side if they were able to do so. It didn't look good for the away side after the first quarter hour. Ian Palacios gave Independiente Medellin the lead when he chased down a cross from the right-hand side and hit a looping header into the far corner to give the home side the 1-0 lead. Yet once again, Juventud would fight back and find themselves level in the 25th minute, once again through Federico Barrandegai. He hit a free kick that was curled into the upper corner, a golazo any way you choose to look at it. It's his second goal in the preliminary stage for Juventud, and once again the scores were level. And it looked like for long stretches of the match that this tie would be decided by penalty kicks. Yet almost 10 minutes from time, Independiente Medellin would find a winner when they earned a corner kick, and from the resulting kick, Francisco Fitraszewski chased down the ball and hit a strong header that went past the Juventud goalkeeper Santiago Sosa. 2-1 to El Dim. That gave them a 3-2 aggregate lead. It got from bad to worse for the Uruguayan challengers when Barrandegai, who had performed so magnificently for the Uruguayan side, retired hurt. Juventud were out of subs, and they were forced to play the remainder of the match with 10 men. They would be reduced to 9 men just 2 minutes later when Ramiro Peralta received a straight red card for swinging back at a Dim player who had hit him. The Uruguayan radio commentators at that time were going ballistic, and they were wondering why that player for Independiente Medellin, who had struck Peralta, had not received a red card of his own. I'm actually curious to understand why that was the case myself. Juventud were brave to the very end. They had some forays into the Dim final third, but they weren't able to get shots off to put the home side goalkeeper under pressure. So El Dim escaped with a 2-1 win on the night and a 3-2 aggregate victory. The dream ends for Juventud de las Piedras, but not without a fight, and they'll continue their South American adventure in the Copa Sudamericana. So that concludes the run-through of those 4 matches that made up the third round of the preliminary stage. And the main points are only clubs from the Pacific side of South America had advanced to the group stage of this year's Copa Libertadores. And that's the first time that has ever happened. There was heartbreak for Carabobo, O'Higgins, Juventud, and Botafogo. All of those teams will play South American club football, but in the Copa Sudamericana. And Botafogo's elimination was significant because that is the first time since CONMEBOL created preliminary rounds into the group stage, starting in 2005, that no Brazilian side has advanced to the group stage of the competition. And so with these results, the group stage field is now set. These are the teams, and these are the pots in which the teams will reside. In pot 1 will be Flamengo and Palmeiras of Brazil, Fluminense also of Brazil, Boca Juniors, the lone Argentine side, Peñarol and Nacional, the two Uruguayan giants, and Liga de Quito and Independiente del Valle of Ecuador. In pot 2, we have Lanús and Estudiantes of Argentina, Lanús, the Copa Sudamericana winners, Libertad and Cerro Porteño of Paraguay, Corinthians and Cruzeiro of Brazil, Bolívar of Bolivia, and Universitario of Peru. In pot 3, Junior de Barranquilla and Santa Fe, both clubs of Colombia, Universidad Católica and Coquimbo Unido of Chile, Rosario Central of Argentina, Always Ready of Bolivia, Deportivo La Guaira of Venezuela, and Cusco of Peru. And finally in pot 4, Universidad Central of Venezuela, Platense and Independiente Rivadavia of Argentina, Mirasol of Brazil, Barcelona of Ecuador, Independiente Medellin and Deportivo Tolima, or Deportes Tolima rather, of Colombia, and Sporting Cristal of Peru. So those are the makeups of the 4 pots from which the teams in the 8 groups will be drawn. And as a reminder, you can find XG maps, flowcharts, and passing network maps for every Libertadores match on my Soccermetrics X feed. Match data supplied by Data Factory Latin America. Got a comment or question about this podcast or about the Libertadores? Send them to my X handle at Soccermetrics. You can also send questions or comments to @SoccerDownHere or to Jason Longshore at Longshoe. This show is also distributed on YouTube and Facebook, and you can follow the conversations there. The draw for the group stage will be on March 19. I'll return then to discuss the 8 groups. This has been the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, proudly part of the SDH network. See you later. Hasta luego, and até mais.